a couple of them on,
Yeah.
then it'll at least go into the Zoom.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Pat, can you hear me?
Oop. Yep, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Can you follow what's going on here at all?
I can see, I just was able to hear you just now.
Okay, just now? Just me? Could you
Yeah,
hear
I can,
could you hear Luke talking?
no, not at all.
Okay. Well, we're gonna try to set up a couple of mics that will maybe pick up some of the stuff, but
Okay, that's fine.
yeah.
That's fine. I'm
Yeah.
sorry I can't be with you guys.
I know we've had some technical difficulties, so
That's okay. That's fine. It's technology.
yeah.
More important. I guess everybody here has. Oh, I've seen that. Seen that.
Everybody wants to talk today. Over here. And I'm gonna be right in front. I'm gonna put you in the internet group, okay, Pat? I'm gonna put this microphone top.
Small business. That's it.
So why is this important? Idea as a three things. Cellular, your Wi-Fi and no service. So I guess, why is it important that you have? So what I got from you was you only have Wi-Fi, no service when you're outside, you run a business, and then also working outside, they have no way to work with the internet as a tool. Well, yeah. Safety, that's a great public safety. Yeah. Yes, emergency service.
Particularly too, the Wi-Fi is down. You have no way to communicate with even Fidium fiber or if you're lucky to have them.
Three questions.
It's a lot of.
What other thoughts?
And bills we need there.
Yes.
In the bylaws. Like this week now.
Yeah. So that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Are you making a viewpoint that even when the power goes down, we're still often.
Yeah.
Okay, so the uninterruptibility is a big word. Of cell service. In power. That's a good one, good.
Only got.
Right. What else? Any other? Alright, yeah.
This offices, a town office, this right, so that's not money in repairs and replacement of to turn that into.
You're concerned it's a cost, like certain items, you don't have seconds that are kind of be on your, you're going to be without.
That property back with water goes down.
I absolutely. Yeah, I.
That is a feature, is that not everybody who is done life. It's some people like to go someplace where they.
I mean, I
are
like
involved.
that.
So that's kind of a issue, yeah.
You know, I like the sort of thing that's all.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually.
It's not what's clear landline. It's not a landline, that's fiber. Fiber. That's not a landline, fiber. It's two different things.
Just like federally, in the town, you want businesses in federally.
Let me get to another question.
Somewhere else, that we're saying, look, yeah, options.
You all, in past, to fully address the internet, self-service. More intent.
I've done. But I think that we should.
Possibly liability. Industrial power.
People are coming from 36, so wait.
That I would think.
So they're being specified this.
Already dealing with structures like mosquitoes and silos. So are you willing to go with? You used to pay it. And it's not- So I would say, that they usually got about 2 miles apart. So you would have maybe 3 up between here and yeah, maybe 3, so that, and maybe 2 or 3, and 1 more to get down. And then.
There's a lot more. Let's go, yeah.
Well, they're hiding in places. That's another question for you. Are you willing to have powers that are more visible?
And then when we split.
So they do make that look like but generally don't like to do the expense setup. They want to do the cheap. And the cheaper stuff is generally a kind of industrial lattice. That's how I require, I think, so
I understand that, but
you
that's.
see them in a lot of places. They're a little bit more like silhouette and narrow. With, they can have multiple carriers on the top. They can use it right above the tree line. So you don't really see the five lattice. So I'm sure that you kind of a pretty idea of the model. Versus
That's tough.
see, this is, I might say, like, we can actually put it like, that's what I want to say, not again, But we are, other than how we put up, it's my own.
If, well, if they can't, then safety first.
Yeah, and also at East Fairfield, I think there's some there. Or some, there's some that are actually hedges which you can't see.
Actually, in a rural area. 5 to 25 miles.
Oh, yeah. I'm wondering why that opened up, to just here and. So there's some out there that we don't see, but they're plenty, I like.
Yes, put it up there, hey, that's it, some help.
So we're talking about like still having this year.
So overall, when you're dealing with,
We're not.
both the internet and when you're dealing with something that's statewide. It's land, it's statewide. So they look at. Different counties, that's why you're not.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, and that's why, along with this, is this issue of, if you start a signal, it might be.
It's a social gambling.
Okay.
Maple Street, where it's all places.
Okay, so that's an important issue. Multiple lot street. Yeah, yeah, without, okay, come back to this, come back to the first question, so I want to make sure. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Very not do that. What is that?
Agriculture. I have not really, back when.
I heard a lot of grass.
We could go back for.
My theory is not the outdoors are still incredibly needed. So it's incredibly bad. Incredibly.
Yeah, what is that?
So the one thing to know about what you're using, it's satellite. So satellites are not blocked by tree coverage, they're not seen, they're invisible. Yeah, so it's a little bit different.
Question.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But I also understand the safety first of how this
Alright, so the last question, and then we go back to the council and about all this. What do the town do? You know, it's a rainy cell, there's no internet, so this. Yeah. It is, it also has technological information. And Bakersfield or in Bakersfield and Bakersfield and Fairfield, but that Bakersfield and Cambridge, not a lot of history. So they go where they get. We're the last of priority.
We didn't, Matt Crawford had one, Matt Crawford his and his.
It is still in. So there is some development. And sometimes. Fight it and so it's not always guaranteed. So there's business interests and then there are people who have litigation for or against. So here's some steps. Yeah, about 2 miles.
In the rural areas, it's 5 to 25. In the urban, I do this for a living, but in the urban areas, you need two because you're competing with so many of it. Hurts. But out here, it's 5 to 25, and even in the.
Sorry, but hills. It's flat land.
But that's where you can put it up.
So, not everybody. There are people who don't like Texas. But the point is, the hills of Vermont, a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Because that's just like, you find, we can have a call inside a building or outside a building, or inside, it's the same thing when you're in the shadow of a house. So that's always challenges. There can be interference. Well, I think that the thing the town could do is, we could. Places in town that we need to have a lot of
Like facilities.
population. So would you be open to a plan?
I guess.
To put service providers, so that they kind of everybody could get it, even there are hills, trying to get them up on high hills. To get that kind of so-called plan. Working with a telecommunications contractor. And so somebody that offers. It's just the providers making the decisions. It's the five. All of the town. That's right. The planning service. Yeah. That might be the biggest first step. We're going out. Yeah, sometimes somebody has land, it's under, where you provide it with knows, and get a, probably send them over the other side. And so it's serving the.
From what I was told last time, when I talked to cell service companies recently, is you're either gonna be super high and have less, or you'd have to have more and have it low. But unfortunately, the topography of Bakersfield was required the higher tower. Just because of topography. So, they're gonna be sticking out, you're gonna see.
Yeah, they're not gonna. That's not.
And I'm not a huge one for satellites on the other end, because space junk and you're pulling all that, that's going right into your house. That power you're pulling in is an incredible amount of power. Just running your internet, you could go up there and it melts the snow. Just running internet, that's the heat pulling off the satellites to get. Health wise, I think cell service or satellite, I had Elon for years. Health wise, it's whatever is gonna be best for everybody, but you Correct. Yeah. It is, and actually there is I'm on the Northwest, the headquarters too. And the person who's in charge of that, actually, that's what she did for 30 years was. And she says the radiation levels have gone down considerably, and microwave is powerful right now.
place, community contact.
There's gonna be an area around it where some might be.
Let me ask you another question.
There.
I think it would be appropriate a town make a specific the monetary expenditure to make this happen. So the city you hire the city, hire a planner. There's this, there's more, so important that you're gonna be willing to tell the town to take some part in a terrible place. Those are real kind of conversations.
It's like, not all actually. I see, I mean, it's, the beat, right?
Yeah, so it's as you're describing it. At the
definition.
and whether they find it.
Let's just say I sold my land. I mean, this
Sell
stuff
house.
is essentially a house.
But then.
It's worthwhile, it's best
Whatever, and.
make it, we already.
That's my, two other places. It's hard, like.
We have. I think that we're that.
Feel that I'm ready.
Should let the free market. We back it up.
We can extract from our
So that's another option, to say, use your example. The town would buy, four of the large starting. And they could have them in different places. So they could invest in actually like infrastructure. So take away all that's another way to. Thank you all for your very good thoughts. We're gonna talk about this. We're making a dent, we hardly have any left. Hi, you're gonna be taking part only. We definitely gotta save these.
Yeah,
Everybody can take a seat. We're gonna talk about what we learned there.
I tried to include Pat. So, yeah, I think that Heather hooked it up so she could hear it.
Yeah, she's nodding, she's hearing.
I can hear most of it.
All right, good, good.
Thank you.
All right, Luke, go ahead.
Alright, so now that we're sort of out in one big group now, so I was thinking, those of us who were in each of the groups who kind of go around and summarize what, everyone talked about, so. I was, in the farms and forests group, we talked about different things that are impacting, farms and forests in Bakersfield, one of those is, sort of farmers who don't know who's gonna take over their land, once they retire from farming, sort of, and not having that continuity in place. Also, thinking about how Bakersfield's land use planning can split up agricultural lots through large lot sizes, that take them out of agriculture or requiring large lots. can impact farms, like someone wants to develop, that will get taken out of agriculture rather than sort of clustering houses and leaving fields open. We also talked about small farms and the trend of not being enough resources for small farms versus large farms, and farms sort of consolidating, getting larger and more corporatized, and having more and more restrictions on what people can do on their land that might not necessarily be agriculture, but more of a homestead. And I think that about sums up what we talked about. Does that sound right to everyone?
So someone raised the question, what is agriculture? And no one really had a great answer, or we all had kind of slightly different ideas. I don't know if anyone that wasn't in that group has a thought on that. You could share it.
According to the USDA, agriculture is supposed to be something that's grown from the ground. Whether it's a tree, herb, grass, fruit, raspberries, vegetables.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that could mean, and what that has sort of looked like has changed over time on Bakersfield.
Because depending on what you have as your brand of agriculture dictates how much land you have to have. I'm familiar with dairy. If you're cow calf, you're looking at 3 acres per cow. Okay, well, that's 3 acres per cow. So if you don't have 3 acres, you don't have one cow, or you're buying feed.
Yeah, that's something we've seen.
But berries take something else. They could probably go up on the ledge, where it's a little more acid.
Yeah.
But and you're not gonna have 600 acres of berry in California. But we're not. So it depends on how you define agriculture as a whole, and then bring it down to, well, what brand of agriculture are you looking at? You know, if you're looking at cows, well, the nice thing about cows is you get to deal with what comes out the backside too. And that's an issue that I think is gonna limit where the large farms can go. You know, because if they're looking at 2 acres per cow, they've got a management down to 2 acres per cow. And they want to go 2,000 cows, they got 4,000 acres of ground.
Yeah.
And it's not here.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna limit the big farm, in my opinion. But when you start talking, what I heard here was 25 acres minimum lot size. Well, okay, what are you gonna get for 25 acres? And then who are you gonna get to buy it?
Well, what?
But there are some locations here in Bakersfield, you don't have to have 25 acres, you can. The zoning's 10 acres, my place is 10 acres, over on the east side of Waterville Mountain Road is 25 acres. Or once you go another 4 miles, you're back in 10 acres again.
Yeah, I think, well, once you have a lot that small, it's hard, it limits the type of agriculture that you can do on it. And so splitting up into different lots of lessons.
And it's what is the business? What are you looking to put on it?
Yeah. Well, I think agriculture is something that people in Vermont generally value. That's why a lot of people like the communities that they live in, rural communities, having agriculture around an open space. And I think that's a good question to sort of define, maybe in the town plan, or what does that mean to Bakersfield residents when they're thinking about supporting agriculture? What is agriculture to them?
Value added.
Value added industries. That's definitely something that places are trying to promote statewide as a way to keep agriculture viable.
Back in the days of old, they used to talk about agriculture and silviculture. Agriculture was dairy farms, basically. Silviculture was the woodlands. Now we seem to mush them together.
Yeah.
But they're two, in my mind, I'm not a forester, but they're two separate beasts. And do we want to keep throwing them all into the same bucket of agriculture, or do we want to be smart about it and say, that is prime land for growing hardwoods? That's silviculture. I'm not gonna drop a plow in there, I couldn't if I wanted to. So maybe we need to separate that so that we're not
trying to lump it all into the same basket with the same set of rules. What's good for silviculture could be good,
Yeah.
but they're different beasts.
Absolutely, and the people that don't know the difference, they call it agriculture.
Yeah.
But there's difference.
Yeah, agriculture and forestry.
So I think an important thing to remember here is that the planning commission can do some things related to these terms and these activities that you're using here. But a lot of it is defined by either the USDA or the Vermont Agency of Agriculture, et cetera. What we really want to focus on are what can we put in our town to help us improve what we do for whatever you call it, silviculture, agriculture, having cows, having blueberries, whatever it is. And one of the things that we do is related to what some of you have mentioned, and that is lot sizes. In the rural area, you can't have a lot size any smaller than 25 acres. In conservation areas, it's the same.
10 in rural.
10 in rural and 25 in. I mentioned these because one of the important things that you might think about as you consider what we do in the town is when you go out of here tonight on the wall here, and also in our town plan, if you go to the internet and find our Bakersfield town plan, you can look at our zoning map. And the zoning map is an important thing that we can influence from the planning side. Maybe you think we don't have enough agricultural land, we should improve more of that, increase more of that, or maybe you think we've got not enough conservation land, or we need more business development, we don't want to have a lot of land taken up by big operations like conservation and farming. Knowing those zoning areas is a really big part of all of the things that we do in planning. Because we will not be allowed by law to let development that doesn't meet the bylaw and the standards of those zoning maps.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear from some of the other groups.
So we were talking about business, and impacting businesses in the area. The group pretty much agreed that the reason why they wanted to have this conversation was because they want to support local business in town. They want to be able to stay in town to eat and to, help came up several times. But to be able to stay in town and be part of the community. And that sort of segued into a pretty big conversation about how important it is for community to be able to gather. And that idea that the businesses would be right on Main Street where people could actually see them and see each other. Which then there's the conversation about, well, where do we put them? And that's kind of part of that zoning issue. But also we don't have a space, what buildings do we have? And some of the first steps that sort of came out of that conversation was what can we do with what we have? And maybe, so we talked about Brigham, we talked about this building, is this the best use for it? How are we using it now? We talked about the North Station where the old fire department was at the other end of town. And then there was sort of a conversation about being able to provide space for local vendors, whether it be bakers, whether it be a coffee shop, whether what crafters, whatever it might be, to start getting that idea of business being part of our community. Yeah, I think that's sort of it in a nutshell. If anybody wants to jump in if I missed anything significant what we talked about. But really the idea was we want to be able to support our businesses in town and stay in town and not have to go elsewhere. Sure.
And I'll just add to this conversation that a big effort was made here from planning to define what's called the village district. And that is a place where we want businesses to develop. And I think it's great that you all pointed out that if the town has some property and it could be turned over to commercial uses, that could not only bring you businesses that you like, but bring that centering of town activity to the village center, which sounds like what you all wanted to do. So we can take that, put that in the plan.
I think we were surprised that there were 11 businesses in town. And that's how the whole discussion came up about wanting to support them, but not even realizing that there were 11 businesses. And then we were trying to figure out, you know, what they were and how we could support them. So that's kind of where it started.
Good. Right, so I have the last group, if we're ready for that. Any other conversation?
I have one question here. One of the challenges I see in Bakersfield when it comes to businesses is if you're running a cottage industry, our electrical infrastructure can handle that. If I'm gonna put a business in, I need three-phase power. Where is there three-phase power in Bakersfield? Where is there enough power coming into Bakersfield that I could use some of the new inverter technologies that are out there, because they challenged the waveform structure. They challenge it. And so we're left here talking about cottage industries or anything bigger. A machine shop, somebody wants to put a machine shop in, or a little fab house. That machinery runs on three-phase. We can't support it with what we have. I watch Enosburg Electric's three-phase go from three-phase to food phase to single phase before it hits the edge of the village. Okay, it's all of your co-op is single phase power. It starts at St. Rock's, the St. Rock substation, and it's single phase power. And the co-op will, the last I knew, would not consider any kind of solar or wind generation here unless they could put it on three-phase power. And that's why not much is gonna happen up here. And they will fight it with the Public Utility Commission. They'll go there and say, hey, we don't need it because it screws the infrastructure up so badly up here. I think there's three-phase to East Fairfield. I think the old Reed Slaughterhouse had three-phase, but I think that's where it stops. So we're isolated. So if we're looking as a town as to how to plan, how can we plan to put the squeeze on the power companies, get the power here that will allow it to happen? And you have a good fight on your hands. But otherwise, we're down to cottage industries, little tiny bakery, anything that runs single phase power, 220. That's it.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of the people that plan for the whole state, they're planning for our little town. They think about, well, Bakersfield might not be able to provide three-phase power, but these towns next to Bakersfield can, and that's where people will go for that kind of business. So maybe we have to work within our limitations and recognize that getting the state to change so that we could have broader opportunity might be more difficult than we think.
We have three-phase power in Bakersfield,
Where's that?
right on Boston Post Road.
That's left over from the Enosburg Electric, right?
Power company. Wherever, I don't,
Yes,
I just know we have three-phase. My son has a sugar house, I'm sure Jarvis Farm has it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking was Jarvis Farm.
There's plenty of three-phase. You have to pay for it.
Oh, yeah,
Okay, but still, there's plenty of places you can have.
It's not plenty, but you
We're not that isolated.
that's the issue. It comes down a little bit from Enosburg Electric. It comes down a little bit, but it doesn't come to the village. It doesn't come to over half of this town, doesn't have it. What if Cole, Rosalie, you got three-phase up there?
No,
We're not gonna be able to solve that today, but
it's
we're gonna
just, it's just.
yeah, I appreciate your points. It's a very important. Energy is extremely important. That's gonna be a big part of our discussions in the town plan revision. Is what do we want to do with energy? Do we want to encourage larger solar? Do we want to encourage wind? Do we want to encourage or discourage large wind or solar? So that's going to be a part of our planning too. So come to the meetings to help us with that.
Well, I, right there, you just bring up a point that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Because more rules are bad for, encouraging development, as far as I'm concerned. I was raised that way. So your statement just has me figuring that you're trying to figure out a methodology of rules and structure, and then have all these businesses fit into this this block diagram, and if it doesn't fit, we don't want it.
Well, the rules are both to promote things and also to limit things.
Yeah, in all
So-
due respect, that's you saying that, I don't see it. But still, I respect your position and what you were doing here for sure. Just bringing up the notion that if you have a structural thing and everything has to fit within the structure of forehand, that's gonna limit the possibilities, not encourage it.
Right. No, good points.
Are we talking about in-home businesses?
Any business. Really, I mean, that's what this group was talking about, was what businesses can we attract so that the community can support them and feel like we have a community centre that supports and promotes, you know, and prevents it or enables us to stay in town to do business.
Well,
All right.
I'll be opening the Bakersfield Country Club restaurant in May. You can come support me any day.
You got to close.
You need to get a sign at the bottom of Boston Post, because half the time we forget.
Yeah, I forget you're there.
We talked about that.
That's a good.
All right, so we got one more group that met, and we're gonna talk about that. They had improving access to internet. And there's John, who's the guy that's gonna set us up here tonight with the internet, and cell service. So, internet and cellular service, and the first question was, why is it important? And our group said, first of all, in their house, they might have Wi-Fi service, or maybe they've got landline service. But as soon as they leave, they don't have any way to communicate. And as such, they would like to have cell service. And the reasons for it, one, some people run their business and they are running it in between home and getting to their business site. Some people work outside and would like to be able to use the internet to, like, you know, their example was the listers are out looking at the properties. There's people that are out farming, they could use internet. If you're not near a building or in a building, you might not have internet. Big one was public safety, that we need it so that people, if they have a problem, can call for help. And that emergency services can maybe locate those people, get to those people and help them. They are concerned about the cell service that we would encourage here. First, that it be uninterruptible if there is a power outage. Because one of the other things that I think a lot of us have experienced is we have a lot of outages. And especially in the winter time. And if you've got cell service, it's usually not dependent on the electric grid. If you lose your power, you oftentimes will still have cell service. So it's another good reason to have that. And there are people who are concerned about losing landlines. The thought that so many people have cell phones, maybe they won't even offer to sell landlines in the future. And some older people that's all they have might be out of communications.
They are pulling them out. I just got confirmation that they are gonna be pulling them out.
Yeah, so we're hearing that landlines like antennas on roofs may be going away.
Yeah, January 1st.
Is that right?
I told my wife,
John
we
wants
had
to
that
speak.
landline.
Alright.
They said January 1st is going away.
So we got somebody online that wants to speak. John West, one of our select board. members.
Hey, Bill, I just want to continue that thought there for a moment. So when Fidium came out and installed the fiber connections to my house, they had informed me them/Consolidated, because I wanted to keep my copper lines. They informed me they're going to be removing all the copper lines in the future, in the near future, because they will no longer support it. You're going to have to switch to Fidium. The concern is, once they remove these copper lines, we have no 911 service. And we have no emergency service to dial anything without cell phone towers. So just FYI, that was something I was physically told in person by those folks.
Okay, great. That's important. As some of you may know, I'm actually one of the officers in the fire department here, so that's important to us to know whether people can call in if they have a problem.
Well, even think about it, even if the fire department is down the road and they need to call out for help, they can't. They can't get anybody out to come out to help the fire department because there's no service. So it's become a necessity, not a nicety.
So we'll have to investigate that further, that's important. Life safety is among the top things. So then we had to ask, what steps are we willing as a town to make? And so we talked about a couple of different things. First, towers. Almost everybody thought that any kind of tower for, say, cell service should be something that blends in with the landscape, like a monopole, just a little bit above the tree line, not these very tall industrial towers that look like that they should be in a city. They also said, as is in our regional plan, that anytime you have a tower, you have to use that as co-location. In other words, you have 3 or 4 providers. And that was an important point that someone made, was we want multiple providers of both cellular and internet. Otherwise, it's a monopoly and you can't have choice. And then we also asked whether the folks would want the town to potentially work with the telecommunications companies, the internet companies, to plan for everybody in town getting service. Because right now, the way it is, they choose where to buy land, where to put up a tower, and they make it on the basis of primarily road traffic. Because that's where a lot of calls are made on the road, not our connectivity in our homes off of the main roads. So it would take some planning with them so that they get what they need, we get what we need. And they also said that it should not require tax dollars for us to attract good cell service or internet service to this community. It ought to be because we figure out ways to make it attractive to do those services through. Anything that I left out from the group that I was working with there? No.
All right, well, thanks everyone for that discussion, and everyone for sharing your thoughts. So,
Sidewalks. Anybody?
I don't think that was one of the top ones that people voted for.
Yeah, so I think we should note that
Yeah,
we only talked about 3 in this group here, but we are looking at all of these
mhm,
when we go to the planning sessions.
yeah,
And we're looking at the results of the surveys. So we kind of just focused here, but it's also not just to get some focused data here, but also we hope that this inspires some of you to participate in town governments. The only way we get things done is, I often find it, to do it ourselves. Relying on other people, you're relying on, maybe your reliance is not going to be well founded.
mhm.
But if you participate, we're gonna get something better.
And we'll be really advertising pretty heavy with that, and we might even bring cookies occasionally.
She's our food.
I know
manager.
you get people food, they come, you know, like kids don't come to my house unless it's vegan.
So, I guess it's getting kind of late. There was one more thing that we were gonna do, one more sort of activity. And I guess talking about sidewalks is a good sort of segue into that. So there's these 2 maps here. Basically, we'd like everyone to draw on these maps or put dots on these maps with things either that they like in the town, that they want to see in the town, or things that you're concerned about and you think need to be changed. And that would be putting it on the map where it is, and then you could label it with a marker or a Post-it. And
Do we have enough red dots and enough green dots?
I hope so.
Because if we
Yeah, there's a
use
lot of
red
dots.
for we don't like it and green for we
Still,
do
stickers.
like it.
And then yellow for we
we're
like
kind of in
it,
between.
but it needs some changes.
What about everybody raise their hands and I can write it on, count and write it on there?
Well, it's
That takes too long. I think the dots is a good way to do it, because it can be done pretty quickly. And it's gonna be somewhat,
Could you clarify what we're putting dots on?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, There's a map here of that's zoomed into the village, and there's a map here of the whole town. So if there's a place in town that you like and you want it to stay the way that it is, you can call that out on the map. Put a green dot on there. If there's a place that you think needs certain improvements, you put a dot on there. And if there's a place that you're concerned about and you think that changes need to be made, you could put a dot on there. So it's looking at the different areas of town and what people think of the different.
What if you don't like what they call the village? Or you put that down?
You could,
Take that up with the selections.
yeah, circle the whole map or, yeah.
Yeah, so the idea is maybe you have a road that's really a problem. Mark that red. Maybe you love the school, the church, the store in town, the gas station, green dot. Those are the kinds of things that we're just trying to get a little feedback on here. And maybe it's a place that you think is beautiful, you want to protect it forever, make that a green dot. Here's a place you really don't worry about, maybe that's a place that we could put some sort of energy project, put some sort of cell tower, put some sort of other service that is needed, but maybe it's not as beautiful as the school.
Yeah, or things or places are needed, so there's no sidewalk here, but there should be a sidewalk.
You can write on there too,
Yeah.
right on there, yeah, we need sidewalks.
Basically, or just draw too, just
Yeah.
draw whatever.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you might somewhere else. Gary, you want, you might. You want this? So maybe write on there instead of put dot. I like it, you don't like it. Yeah, you gotta find it, you gotta know where the stuff is on the map.
Ken?
Yes.
I can't write. Could you write? Harry Cooper's Land.
Yeah,
Um.
write that on there, Harry Cooper's?
yes, Which cat falls?
Yeah, with cat falls.
Yeah, conserve it,
Falls.
turn it into a park.
Yeah, I know, his son,
I know.
he
Yeah.
came recently and
Working on it.
he divided some of it off. For the house, the part that had the house on it, and then the other piece is still,
Yeah, but that's up there. The stream is starting to eat away
yeah.
where the driveway is, so we don't know if he's gonna be able to do that. But anyway, now.
Okay, so you want to throw on your side sheets. So I really fix all of them there, it's sunset. Driving downstairs, you get to the sign when you're on. It burns off the house. We get heavy rain. It comes. When it freezes out. Yeah. Exactly.
They first went up and you're right, there was some shipping and movement, we started small. We started small here in town. We started off, we was writing letters to the states and we don't want zoning here. And it's like, so now we're stuck with this. They've kind of evolved. And they tried to do things, but that was what you do. So they came up with some distractions. What makes what kind of soil, what kind of different kind of thing. What is over time, I would see is we had something that was a little. Some clown here. With no concern issue yet. Well, we're understanding that what down in Lily Maintenance. It's about 44 all the way over Bakersfield and what's now water. Is all the way. And was a part of. I can write it. So that's where it's starting. And the lines started right here. Count and shot up. The division is up past. Yeah. But we might be able to do that as we it's there, it's historic, it's not this shit I'm looking at about it looks like crazy. I think that anybody would like to take right there on top, please. Look at my place. Which it used to be. Oh, the line. No, we had it over here.
Sidewalk on the side. They let it go. They let it down by itself.
82 out. Right, they call that conservation. Well, there wasn't that, they right down that road, there's an old road that headed out here, O'Neill, one of those farms I was telling you about, and then cut down through. Okay, and then the last thing I think it was, they took my boundary at the end of the south. It used to be half of half of 25. Very few of the nuances on the 25, so clearly there was an attempt to have something there. What is it? Go ahead, pull that map up there. It's just the fact that- Here we go. And my line is right back in use of it, and I cut down here, and that is there, but it was easy to do. And they also had on this 1,000 feet off of the road for some roads. They said you can go 1,000 feet back, but more than that, you're in the pucker brush and the driveways are too long to do. There were reasons for it, but that is the original planning commission, and I think we just hold it and insert it.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. Sure, sure. This. This.
Hey, Bill.
I would ride the horse back days. I would ride the horse back. Several times. I took it with the bug. Metal steel cart. And it was- I used to drive that with a two-wheel drive Toyota SR5. And there were those that had the skinny. A Smithville. And drive off in the little bit of county.
Oh, you used to be able to go on this here,
Yes. Oh, the mud truck.
Welcome.
I used to think mud trucks around, didn't have 2 or 3 yards of mud slinging to them. There was nothing there, and that came from somewhere, and it just happened. Now the town says, oh, well, it's not our problem. That road was a boundary line between zoning and that road can't be found. You familiar with LiDAR mapping? LiDAR mapping gave me some insights there, and I looked at it. LiDAR mapping told me I have 1.8 miles of stone wall on that property. 1.8 miles.
Where'd you put your red dot?
And every time we go, it sticks out of the ground, 3 feet maybe. And you try to dig across there, the water line in,
Bill, I'm-
you're down and. Where is it, right?
Looks like somebody grabbed the veggie one.
Yeah, and that was all by hand. But anyway, yeah, so think about that.
Yeah, no, we will. Yeah, we will.
I'll come and make the hell out of it.
Good.
I've
There's cheese.
stirred the pot enough for tonight.
Thank you.
There's cheese.
Thanks for coming.
I felt sorry for you.
No, don't feel sorry for me.
There's cheese.
You know actually how I feel with my hands. Feel this. What are you gonna do? Right?
Yeah.
I think this one might be better. Anybody want cheese?
It's still there.
The veggie wet. There was no sidewalk on it. That's what I have. Not enough sidewalk.
Well, how are you gonna go past Bob's house and where Jesse lived here? They're right. That's an issue, and if I owned it, I would be giving up fucking land to the state, town or anything, really, I would, because
Well,
once they get
listen,
it.
money talks. We just get it.
Okay,
Could I
By my
ask you for free, to hold this while I go? Or-
Yes.
Remember that?
Still see my using pass.
I just don't know what it's. Yeah.
Walk the park, walk straight down.
Yeah, I'll bring that. I'll use the compost.
Yeah, I need to. So that's all that is.
Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
That's the way some of us.
This is good.
Spray to go back.
Good.
I can fix that.
Good,
As soon as I bust that concrete.
good.
Why can they do
Do we
that?
have the recycling?
It is,